Jedora's explosives had at least distracted it, though that had likely been more because of the noise than their power. Only Malik's magical sword had pierced the dragon's armored hide. Presumably the battle axe would also have such an ability, but Tezzy hadn't discovered it until after the battle. Too bad. She wished she could have landed at least one serious blow on the dragon. She hadn't been so terrified that she'd frozen and been too stunned to react. As they'd been creeping into its lair, she'd feared that might happen. But it hadn't mattered. In the end, she'd not only almost gotten herself killed, but Malik had been bitten because he'd leaped on the dragon's tail to keep it from reaching her. She hated that she'd been useless, and she hated even more that she owed a Zidar her life. It still surprised her that Malik had bothered to save her. Did he even know her name? She wasn't sure. "Are these charged?" Sasko pointed at the other rifles Tezzy had done. "Yes, ma'am." "I'll give them back to their owners. There could be trouble out there any time." Sasko scooped up the weapons and left. "It's true that I didn't do much on that mission, ma'am," Tezzy admitted when she was alone with the captain. "I tried. I hit the dragon several times with magelock charges, but they did nothing." "No matter how brave the mouse, she cannot defeat the lion," the captain murmured, likely quoting from one of her fables. "How does a mouse survive in a world run by lions?" Tezzy asked. "By treading carefully and carrying a big thorn." The captain pantomimed shoving a thorn in a lion's paw, then pointed at the axe and smiled. "I don't deserve this weapon, ma'am. I scrounged it from a dead man. All that remained of him were a few charred bones and a blackened suit of armor. But he must have once worn it bravely in some battle. It doesn't seem right that I lucked into it because he died." "If he's dead, he's not coming back for it. And even if he had a rightful heir, I don't know how you would find the person and return it." "Nobody was alive there. Nobody human." "Then it's yours." "Are you sure, ma'am? Maybe you should wield it, or... Lord Malik was the one to kill the dragon. If he wanted it..." "He has enough. 2 lesser dragonsteel weapons. Few in the world have such blades, even among the Zidar." But dragonsteel was even better than lesser dragonsteel. Admittedly, Tezzy didn't know how or why, but everyone had been quick to point that out. So far, all she knew about the axe was that it was surprisingly lightweight, seemingly indestructible, and that it had pierced the hide of that giant worm when few other attacks had. Also, it was warm to her touch, and even though she was as sense-dead as any terrene human, she could feel the magic that it radiated. As with the portal, its magic was so great that anyone could detect it. "I've never trained with an axe," Tezzy admitted. In truth, she didn't want to give up the weapon. Given how stacked the odds were against her, with every powerful mage she encountered wanting to kill her because she'd killed 2 of their kind in the past, she could use an advantage. The mages she'd taken down had been vile people who'd tormented others, but that didn't seem to matter. All mages believed it was a crime deserving of death if a terrene human killed one of their kind, no matter how loathsome the person had been. "No?" Captain Farrakey stood and grabbed her rifle and a short sword. "Let's practice, then." "Me and you, ma'am?" It was silly, but Tezzy had never sparred with the captain. Sergeant Tinder usually led weapons practice for the company and paired up the troops. The fact that Farrakey cared and wanted to help Tezzy touched her. "Me and you, rookie." Farrakey smiled and headed for the flap. "I don't know what calamity is going to strike us next, but I fear we'll both need the practice." As they headed off to find a quiet spot, Tezzy eyed the portal looming beside the pool, its magic keeping it standing upright. As far as she knew, it was still active, and more monstrous creatures could fly through it at any time. If dragonsteel weapons were one of the few things that could harm them, she had better do more than practice. She had better master the battle axe.